Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Jason.
I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
And Anne-Marie can't join us this week. She'll be back next week, but I am joined today by Tracy Smaldino, who is, she's self-described as the host of the Trauma Rockstars podcast. That name should actually catch your attention because we're going to be mentioning that word quite a bit. This is, of course, your daily dose of happy, so we won't stay on that, but it's a key part of the story. We're going to learn about that in just a moment. But first of all, Tracy, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. And how are you doing?
Thank you, Walt. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. Okay, we got to let people know where this all started, and it starts pretty young in your life. And my goodness, I still have trouble fathoming what you went through. But cue some people in on what it is that you dealt with early on that led you to what you're doing today.
Yeah, I'll give you kind of a high level, and then you can, if you have questions, we can kind of intertwine them. But just so your audience can have a little bit of a backstory with me, I was in a horrific, I was actually the only survivor of a horrific auto accident when I was 12 years old. And I was burned on 70% of my body. And not to mention my head injury and all the other problems, the physical problems that I had. Any one of them could have killed me, honestly. And that was horrible. I mean, anybody that has been burned, they can, or knows anybody that has, you understand that like your journey is long, long, long after you even get out of the hospital. So that was, and you know, with losing my cousins, that was pretty awful. And then just because that wasn't enough, fast forward 3-4 years later in high school, I'm trying to live somewhat of a normal high school existence that you can, as much as I could as a teenager, just wanting to be with my friends. And I went to a high school party, and like any high school party, you don't know who's going to be there. You just don't know. And I was drugged and sexually assaulted by several boys. Oh, and yeah, it was awful. And, you know, my story, most people knew my story because it was, you know, I went to a fairly small school. So everybody, you know, pretty much knew my story. So I don't necessarily want to say I was targeted, but people knew my story, and it still happened. You know what I mean? So that, you know, it's been years. I literally spent 40 years suppressing everything. I never dealt with any of it because back then, well, honestly, this was back in the 80s when I had my car accident, was in the 80s. Right. And high school was after the years after that, but we didn't have the tools that we have now to help people. And even the word trauma was very taboo. Talking about mental health was taboo. No one was even talking about your nervous system at all.
No.
So it was very, you know, we had very limited resources back then. So for me, you know, after when I had my accident, it was a very, very high profile accident. I mean, it was all over the news. I think it was still it's still the third biggest accident in the history of the state.
Wow.
And every year, the anniversary, they'd replay it on the news.
Well, lovely.
Yeah, there was so much police involvement with it. Actually, the 2 officers that saved my life got like awarded and everything for their heroic, you know, what they did to save me. But, you know, it was a very, very high profile case. So when the assault happened, I was already done. I was like, I don't want any more police in my life, any more news in my life. And I had already been through so much. So I just figured if I ignore it, it'll go away.
I guess so. Yeah.
And I didn't tell a soul, like literally until 2 years ago. I just told my parents last year about it. I never
Wow.
told anybody. And because I knew if I did, it was gonna be another circus.
The last
And
thing.
yeah, and my parents would probably pull me out of school, and I'm
Mhm.
with all my friends, like all my friends that I had been with since my accident, who supported me and that support system and stuff. And I'm like, they're going to pull me out of school. Where am I going to go? Um, having to leave your friends. When you're a teenager, all you care about is your friends. You don't
Yeah.
really care about anything else. So the very unhealthy, unhealed version of me decided to just not tell anyone. And, honestly, looking back at it, I just hope like nobody else had to go through what I went through because I didn't come forward.
Mm.
That's my only, regret with it. But it took me years, and I didn't really start my healing journey until 5-6 years ago.
And
So
and to be perfectly fair, I mean, I understand why you would say that, but to be perfectly fair, it wasn't your responsibility anyway. I mean, you're not
right,
responsible for what they were doing. What
of
they did
course.
was entirely on them.
Yeah, it's all on them. And I'm a big, supporter that the universe kind of handles things the way they're
Mhm.
supposed to get handled on their
It really
own,
does. Yeah.
and
It's
it's
often
their
astonishing
karma.
how that works.
Yeah. So, I don't want to say I have regrets because I know why I did it. I know in my heart, like why I didn't come forward and say anything. Was it the right choice? Probably not. But I also don't really have regrets either. Does that
Well, it
make
was
sense?
the best choice you could make at the time. That's
For
what you felt
me,
like.
yeah.
Yeah, quite
Right.
understandably. Yeah. I don't think
Mhm.
there were any right choices in a situation like that.
It's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, but now for everybody listening who's been through stuff, don't suppress things for decades like I did. That's like
Well,
not the
you have to
healthy
pay
thing,
a price. I
not the
mean, that's the
healthy
real
thing
price
to
we pay,
do.
right? You experience that. You feel that price every single day that you're living through that.
Oh, I was just living. I don't want to say I was living a lie, but I wasn't living,
Mm.
I was just, and so when I, got done with school and everything, I actually worked in the music industry for many,
Oh,
many
wow.
years. Yeah, for a long time. And that's where the name Trauma Rock Stars comes from,
Oh, okay.
because my history in the music business. And I was thinking about when I was getting ready to launch the show and everything, and I'm like, you know what, like if you have been through things and you're just trying to be better and be like the best version of yourself and heal in whatever capacity that means, you're a rock star.
Mm.
Like you are. So that's how the birth of Trauma Rock Stars came.
Well, it's also a I won't say fascinating, although it is fascinating. It's a riveting, perhaps is the better word to describe it. It's a riveting choice to do a podcast like that after you went so many years of your life trying to block it out of your life. You did a complete 180. That's not something that happens every day.
No, I think I did like 5 360s.
Okay, well, fair enough.
You
Yeah.
know, it is because when I started healing, like working on myself, I didn't actually realize that I was a disaster until about 6 years ago. It was when the pandemic
Mm.
started. I started meditating.
Oh, okay.
And when I started meditating just home, in privacy of my own house, I started using guided meditations that I found people that I resonated with on YouTube. There's so much material out there. And I started just easing my way into meditation. And really quickly, I started getting these downloads of information. And I
Mm.
realized like I was a mess and I had never really dealt with anything.
Mm.
Um, so that kind of opened a whole can of worms. And
What
so,
what Was that also, I mean, different people respond to that kind of situation differently. The downloading, when you got the downloads and you realized that you were getting downloads, how did that affect you?
Yeah, it was it at first, because when I first started, meditation is very frustrating. It's kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
golf. Golf is one of the most it's one of the most frustrating sports, it's meditations like that. I've actually never compared it to that before, but it really is. So if anyone
It's
plays golf,
similar,
you
yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
So, and that's what
'Cause you never
meditation
win
is.
at golf. The only thing you do is avoid losing. It's a ridiculous game.
Exactly. I know. And so with meditation, it's called a practice for a reason. So
Mm.
some days are great, some days suck. It just
Mm.
depends on the day. But I kept at it because I started seeing some benefits pretty quickly from it.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, I learned about your higher self and all these
Okay.
keywords that they talk about when you're meditating and all this stuff. And I learned about that, and I started doing higher self guided meditations. For me, I find guided meditations so much more easy because it
Mhm.
keeps me focused. So I started doing that. When I started doing that practice, that's when all the information started coming. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I literally have never really truly dealt and faced any of this.
Mm.
Not just the assault, but even the accident.
Yeah.
I didn't have time, and I realized very quickly that I was a complete hot mess. Like
And
that.
as you pointed out, when it all occurred, the tools really weren't available. They were under development at that point,
Yeah.
but they hadn't developed very far.
No, and I didn't want, like, my parents did try to send me to therapy and everything after the accident, but it was so different back then. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to be put on a pill, on a medication, like an antidepressant, or to mask what was going on. I was already dealing with so much other stuff with I had years of surgeries, reconstructive
Mm.
surgeries and everything after the accident, because I had second and third degree burns. So,
Mhm.
the last thing I wanted was to get on another medication. And it was so different. Like, therapists back then weren't, if there was ones that were well informed on how to deal with trauma, we certainly didn't find them.
Yeah, that's definitely something that has emerged over the last 30 years. And even now, I mean, there is still a widespread industry, particularly among psychiatrists, of people who basically live to dispense pills. I mean, that's
Yeah.
literally,
And
there are some who actually consider it, how many pills was I able to dispense today? The more I dispensed, the better my day was. I mean, that still exists today.
I know, and the past 5 to 10 years has come a long way, and there's so
Yeah.
many therapists and psychiatrists that are really understanding these other modalities out there now, and they're
Mhm.
educating themselves, and it's gotten so much better. But yeah, there's still a huge gap. And
And it's
so
a big
that
gap.
was,
It's within the medical community too, because I had a guest
yes.
on, I'm going to say a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. His name was Dr. Fred Moss, I believe. He has been a psychiatrist for almost 50 years. And after 47 years, I believe it was, he was fired from his position because he had the temerity to say that many of the things that they do in psychiatry are either ill-advised or ineffective. So, I mean,
But
that
he's
gives you an
right.
idea. Well, he is right, but he's
Yeah.
got fired for it anyway. I mean, that really says something. That says
Yeah.
something about where we currently are. So the good news is, like you're saying, there's a lot of improvement that's
Mhm.
happened. You said 5, 10 years, I'll buy that. I'd say even over the last 25 years or so, since the turn of the millennium, there's been a lot of improvement. There's also a lot of room for improvement. It's both.
There is. And it's like with anything medically, whether it's your primary care doctor or therapist or whatever, you have to be your own advocate.
Mm.
And when I'm a kid or a teenager, like, I don't know how to be my own advocate. We weren't even talking about that stuff, but now we're so much more informed. We have so many more resources available to us. So when I started the show last year, I was like, okay, I was really doing, I had really come super far in my journey, my healing journey. So I was ready to start the show. And I'm like, that's the part that I want the show to be about, is the other modalities that are out there and available for people that they probably aren't even aware is out there for them. And to have other people that have been through different types of trauma on to explain like what maybe alternative therapies they've done, what has worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. So people can kind of customize their own healing journey. Because it's not one size fits all.
That's true.
So that's kind of why I started it. And when I discovered MDMA is when I was like, oh my gosh, the world needs to know about this because it's incredible.
So let's talk about that. Joel Elston and I have talked about off camera quite a bit. I think we did one show where we touched on it for about 5 minutes, but it needs a little more attention than that. So, I mean, I know you're not directly in the field, but you've had direct experience with it. That qualifies you. So give us an idea of what it's like from your perspective as a patient.
Yeah, so this is all my research. So I encourage anybody that's interested to do their own research. But I was literally reading a book, and in this book, I learned about MDMA. This person who wrote this book had been assaulted and had MDMA therapy, and it helped her immensely. And I don't want to say cure because I've got opinions about that, but it was super beneficial. So when I first read about this, I was like, what the heck is this? Because I'm very open-minded. And so I went down a rabbit hole and I started researching for months. And I find out that it used to be legal. It was legal up until 1984, 85, I believe.
Sounds about right.
And it was used a lot on soldiers that would come over with PTSD and complex PTSD, and it was changing their lives because it's such an incredible treatment. So in my research, I actually found a therapy center near me that does it. I don't know how I got so lucky, but it's just all the stars aligned, right? Yeah. So I call this therapy center, and it's run by a psychiatrist. And we had a lot of conversations, a lot of intake form. I mean, they needed my entire medical history.
Sure.
Because, you know, people with heart conditions, you know, things like that, you have to be with anything very careful. And she wanted to know my history because they do other modalities there too. So she wanted to make sure that that was the right thing that she thought would work for me. Well, she did everything. She lined me up with a therapist that's there, and she put me with somebody that she felt would really help me and understand my journey. And she couldn't have paired me with a better therapist, Allie. And I have got shows. I've had Allie on my show that all we talk about is my MDMA day.
Wow.
But what MDMA is it's a micro dose of the key ingredient in ecstasy. But it's not the street drug. When people are listening to this, I don't want them to think like you're doing the street drug. It's done by a licensed, qualified therapist, and it's a micro dose of it. So when you take it, it puts you in touch with your subconscious, but you're not like seeing flying elephants and, you know, it's not like that. I could have gotten up and gone to the bathroom if I needed to, you know, you're not out of control. It's nothing, but what it does is it gets your mind into a place where you're almost kind of like a little bit of an out of body experience where you're kind of looking in on your subconscious, but you look at it through a lens of love and care and happiness. So when you go through trauma, all your happy chemicals get shut off. And so what this does is it turns them back on. And I had my MDMA session a year ago. And they're still on. They haven't shut back off. It changed my life. I mean, it was a gift. But what it did, and going in there, I was afraid because I didn't know, was I going to remember the accident? Was I going to remember the assault? I didn't know what to expect because you just don't. But at the end of the day, I had already done so much work, and I was like, you know what? I've already been through the worst. So whatever surfaces, I can handle it. And I've got Allie there with me to help me through it. And a lot of things did come up. There was quite a bit of things that came up, but it wasn't scary. It was more like, oh, that's why I did that. That's why I had that relationship. That's why I put up with crap from all these people over the years. That's why I let people treat me like shit. It was like a flash of everything that made sense, of all the decisions, bad decisions I made, people I've had in my life. I got all these answers, but it was in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that kept coming up that I kept saying is that I wasted so much time because it took me so long to get to this place where I was at peace with everything that happened. And I just kept saying I wasted so much time. Another thing that came up was I didn't realize I had been living 40 years with survivor's guilt from my accident. I didn't realize that I had really had that, and it was so deep inside me. And then I also had to forgive myself because I've always been so hard on myself, and I had to forgive myself because of decisions I made in the past, things I put up with. And I had to kind of grieve that life I might have had if none of this had happened to me. So I kind of had to go through a little bit of a grieving process too. But it was such a gift. I can't even begin to tell you like the answers I got. It's, people say like your life flashes in front of you. It was a similar where it would give me answers to different situations in my life. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense now. Yeah. I get it, So it kind of, takes the pressure off because I realized I was only working with the tools that I had in my toolbox.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So all the answers I needed, I got.
And I'm willing to bet, I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but just from everything I picked up over the years, talking to my friend Joel, who's also a co-host here on the show, talking to other people, my own experiences when I was in college, I had it all together. One thing that I think is pretty consistent is the people who have good experiences with something like this go into it with a mindset that's different from the ones who don't.
Yeah.
And I think that the biggest piece of that is what you just described. You had somebody giving you support, Allie, who not only knew her job, apparently she knew it really, really well, but she also helped you to get into the right frame of mind so that when you were in the midst of it, you were basically what we call high vibe, as high as you could be within the context of where you were at that time. That's really the secret.
It is. And it's funny, before, like, I was running late. I hadn't been to the center before. So we were running late going there, and I felt so bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So when I walked in, she was just standing there with the pill in her hand. So I took it. I'm like, oh crap, there's no turning back now. But we started it out. It took about 45 minutes for it to kick in. But we started out doing breath work and intentions. And I talked about my intention for the session and what I needed. But I had already done quite a bit of work before.
That helped a lot.
It helped immensely because I was prepared. I was ready. I'm like, whatever surfaces, I can handle it. I've got it. And I've got Allie holding my hand, literally. So I was ready for it. And I think it's so important that you have somebody that you trust. Like I tell her all the time, like you changed my life. And she's actually writing the foreword in my book.
Oh, is she? That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. And she literally changed. I tell her this all the time. And I still meet with her for therapy sessions, but when we do, it's different. Like we do breath work, we meditate together, we do intentions, that's what our therapy sessions consist of now. But I just want anybody listening that might be interested in this, you could of course reach out to me, but do your research and don't just jump all in. You can't. You really have to get yourself ready. It's kind of like when you're training for a marathon. You have to train. You have to do that, part to get your body and your mind ready for that. So you have to do the same thing for anything, like not even just MDMA, any kind of alternative therapies that are available to you. You really need to do your research.
Another theme that shows up a lot in any of the conversations I've ever had with anybody about this kind of thing is the theme of how an experience like this changes your perspective on a lot of things. It changes your perspective on what your current life is like, what your most recent past life was like, what your spiritual beliefs are, what your afterlife beliefs are, how you connect with all the stuff, the fears that you had that disappeared or dissolved. I mean, there's a theme that plays out over and over with these different experiences that people have. And I could just tell from the way you're nodding your head, yeah, that was me too.
It's so funny because you actually, you always, I think most people always wonder, like, how am I perceived? How do people see me? How is my energy projected out into the world? You get to see that going through this journey, and you get to experience what that feels like, because it's showing you from that lens of, that's where I'm saying it's kind of like an out of body a little bit, but it's not. But you get so deep in your subconscious, and things pop up that you never would have imagined too, like things I had never even thought about. And even after my session, she kind of fair warned me. She's like, the next couple weeks, things are going to surface because I call it an awakening. I had my awakening, right?
Yeah.
And so it did.
When you open the door, it doesn't close very easily. So you're going to have all the stuff coming through.
Yeah, which is good, because you need to, you need that, but, just be prepared for that. And she fair warned me about it and stuff. And it did. I mean, things still pop up. It's been a year. It's been over a year, and I still get, things that pop up, but I welcome them now, because now I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready. What lessons do you have for me today?
Yeah, you can actually get to the point where you get excited for it, which sounds strange.
I am. That's how I'm totally geeked out about it. Yeah, I love it now. I'm like, I'm never going to be healed, because I want to learn more and find out as much as I can, Which now it's kind of a game, like a fun game for me. Yeah.
Well, it's the best evidence of healing and growth. Because when you get to that point, that means you've gone through so much change in your thought process, in your mindset, in the way you perceive and your perspective, and as you look at your own life and the lives of others, that you literally have healed. You've healed in ways that you didn't even know perhaps you were injured before. But
I had no clue. That's what I was saying. I had no clue I was as much of a mess as I was. I had no idea, because you go through floating through life, and you don't stop. And a lot of trauma survivors, they like to live in busy cities. They move a lot. They have very crazy demanding jobs. Well, hello, I worked in the music business. I couldn't have picked a more perfect career to match my trauma.
I'm an ex-musician. I know what you mean.
Okay. And so this has given me time to like calm down, and I'm finally relaxed for the first time in my life. And things still come up, of course, like we still get triggered. I mean, we're human, but it's been such an incredible journey for me that's why I'm like, I need to share this with the world, because this is like healing and dealing with this stuff is super scary, but this is what the other side looks like. So it's so worth it,
Well, plus, don't you find that even though you can still get triggered, the triggering is nowhere near as effective as it used to be?
It's so different.
If before you get triggered and you were triggered for the next week, now you're triggered and you're triggered for the next 5 minutes. It's an entirely different experience.
And you look at it differently. It's like, okay, well, now I'm being triggered because of a feeling, not because of an event or a person. It's the feeling that I'm getting. So then you can identify with that. And another thing too that has been really instrumental for me is there's been times the past few years where, you're doing all this, you're taking all these baby steps, and then boom, something happens and you feel like you take 10 steps backwards.
Sure.
And that's normal. I want people to know that that's totally normal. But the reason why that happens, for me at least, is because I didn't learn the lesson yet. I still have things.
That theme comes up a lot.
Yeah, I still had something I needed to learn there. So then now I'll dive in and be like, okay, what am I trying? What are you trying to teach me? What do I need to know? And then once you do, then you can shoot right back where you were, back ahead. But it's all a journey and a lesson, and it's been a gift, I just have to say.
At what point do you think, and this is always very subjective, so you may not even be able to pick a point, but at what point do you think you finally realized that when something like this comes up, even though it can be an unpleasant thing, you're going to get through it quickly, however you define quickly, and then it comes through and you get through it even quicker than you anticipated?
I think it's what I was saying about knowledge and education. You have to understand why you're getting triggered. It's not necessarily that person or that event or whatever. It's the feeling it's giving you. And that's the only thing we can control, is the feelings we allow things to give us. So once you can hone in on that and you have the tools to do that, it becomes much easier. And it's not that it's not hard, because there's always going to be hard things that pop up that are going to happen. But if you can now, before I might have freaked out, I might have had a complete freak out, moment, where now I can do it in a much calmer state and be like, and I'll even step back and be like, wait a minute, I need a minute here. What's going on? Why am I getting, what exactly is triggering me? Like sometimes it could be the most like a song on the radio, or, it could be as simple as that you could get triggered to. It doesn't necessarily have to be any interaction with other people. Nope. You just don't know. So now I can do it like, okay, what's going on? What are you trying to teach me here? What's the lesson in this?
And what you really learned, I think, this is my way of expressing it, is you learned that you do have one power at all times, and that is how you're going to respond. You don't necessarily have power over what happened to you, but you always have power over how you're going to respond. Not just what happened to you, but what happens later on when you play it again, or when you get triggered again, or when it gets played again and again and again, and then again and again and again. You all those opportunities are there every single time. You have an opportunity to change how you're going to respond.
You do. And I think the biggest thing is that's where I was saying the nervous system is getting really in touch with your nervous system. Like sometimes I'll get a really bad pain in my shoulder and I know I'm about to get triggered.
Oh, okay.
It's coming.
Well, it's nice to get a signal. That's helpful. Like, okay, yep, got it, coming. I'm aware.
Okay. Thanks for the warning. But I'm so in touch with my nervous system out, and that's through meditation. That's what really makes you in touch with that, is through meditation. So now I know, like, okay, what's going on? Why am I getting this pain? Something's brewing. But I'm fine with it now, because I know it's happening. But I think that the one thing that has been so helpful is, I keep saying what a hot mess I was, but that hot mess is actually my superpower.
I like that. That's a nice way of turning it around.
And it is, because that it's given me that knowledge to share with others, and even like self-therapy myself. It gives me that knowledge, and to be able to look at like what you've been through can actually turn into your superpower, and embrace it.
Yeah, because when you embrace it, not only are you embracing that which you previously considered to be bad or undesirable, and now you've turned it into something that actually benefits you, but you've also decided through that decision-making process, you've decided that you are no longer going to be ruled by it.
No.
Instead, it has taken on a completely different role. It's a much lesser role. It's subservient to you rather than being in charge of you. And the difference, I mean, the way I'm saying it may not sound like it's a big difference. That's a big difference.
No, you're
That's a
spot
really
on. You're spot on, because I think it's important, like people, it's very hard, dealing. It's very, I think a lot of people avoid it, myself included, because of
Mhm.
fear. It's because of fear. But you have to you owe it to yourself and to the world to get yourself through this. And I do a lot of keynotes, and I tell people, I'm very brutally honest. I'm like, no one's coming to save you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but they're not. You've got to take the bull by the horns, and you have to do it yourself and become your own hero, become your own superhero, right?
Mhm.
And it's knowing that now I'm like, okay, well, I've got the tools I need to get myself through anything now.
That's fabulous. That's a very strong place to be in. I'm now I'm
Yeah.
curious also because how long have you been doing the podcast now?
It'll be a year next month.
Oh, okay. Congratulations on finishing your first year. So
Yeah.
what's the response been like? Because first of all, making a decision like that after everything you went through, after having for 40 years buried it, that's a pretty
Yeah.
big decision to make. But then you actually have to kind of face the music and get people responding to that. And
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say no matter who you are, no matter how you're going into something like that, you don't know what's going to happen. And that just kind of hangs over you until it happens. So what was the experience like for you when you started getting feedback? What kind of feedback was it?
Initially, it scared the shit out of me,
Mm,
because I'm basically, putting my dirty laundry out there for the whole world,
right. Yeah.
literally. And I do, all my shows are on video. You can listen on audio too, but I needed to do it because I knew, like, if I'm going to do this, I have to be completely transparent. I have to be brutally honest. I have to be able to talk about every aspect of my journey. So, because I want people to be able to trust me and
Mm,
know that you're safe talking to me. I'm not making any of this up. Like, I really get it. I've literally been through the fire, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
So for me, I wanted to be that authentic person, so people could feel that energy, as from the video or whatever, audio, however they were looking. And the response has been incredible. It was really scary. My first 5 episodes is basically very raw, very clearly. I had no clue what I was doing, but it's my story, the first 5 episodes, and the rest are all interviews with these incredible people that have been through their own journeys that are so inspiring. But yeah, it was scary as hell. And when you're healing, you don't have to broadcast it to the world like I've chosen to. I just felt
Most
this
people don't.
calling,
Mm,
to do this, to show people like what's out there and what healing can look like. Because I'm very, like, I am a trauma rock star. I'm a
mhm.
badass. Like, I got through this. I've done so much work,
Yeah.
and so I'm very proud of myself for it, and I want to help other people get there too.
Which
And
is
so the
awesome.
response has been incredible. People reach out to me, and people have reached out to me that I haven't heard from, people I don't know, but people I haven't heard from in years. And they're like, you have got me starting to talk. You've got me seeing a therapist. You've got me
Wow.
starting my healing journey. I had some people reach out and say, like, some people I know, someday I'm going to tell you about my trauma.
My goodness.
And I'm
Wow.
like, when you're ready, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And I've had,
Yeah.
and complete strangers like have reached out, and the messages, and I always reply. Like, I reply to everybody, and it's been nothing but positive.
That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
I think it also beautifully illustrates what's often called the ripple effect. I
Hmm.
mean, it's the last thing you think about when you start a podcast. I know that because I know what it was like starting my podcast nearly 14 years ago. It was terrifying. But
Right.
nevertheless, there is a ripple effect that happens. And that ripple effect shows up in ways, first of all, it's kind of a shock the first time it shows up. And then after you're kind of used to it, it shows up in ways you didn't really expect. Like, yeah, I mean, you've actually named a couple of them. One of them is hearing from people you hadn't heard from in years. I mean, that alone is kind of shocking. You know,
Yeah.
somebody you haven't talked to, and all of a sudden, oh my God, so and so, somebody I went to high school with or whatever, you know, they're getting in touch with me because they saw what I said on the podcast.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, people I haven't talked to since 5th grade.
Wow. Okay.
Even, you know, and people are reaching out and saying, you know, men and women are just saying like, you've helped me so much, or you've got me thinking, or one day I want to talk to you. And I'm like, when you're ready, I'm here, you know. But it's so, because I just started this. I'm like, if I can just help one person, I think that's why we all do it, right? We just want to touch one person.
Well, in my case, it was the one person that I wanted to touch was me. I was trying to help me. I wasn't even trying to help anybody else.
Yeah. And surprise, you opened up a whole world of people that, I mean, I have people reaching out to me all over the world. I can't even believe.
I mean, seriously, all over the world.
All over the world, Australia, Africa, you know, all over. And I never would have ever been able to communicate with these people before this.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of the 21st century. We have tools available that weren't available in 1980s.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And so many people, like everyone's going through something. And if somebody's like, oh, I haven't been through trauma. Well, you have, because we all went through the pandemic. So you have, but there's no, like, I heard somebody say this, there's no big T and little t. Trauma's trauma.
Right. Yeah, that's something that Joel and I talk about. I normally do a show with Anne-Marie on Mondays, and sadly Anne-Marie can't be here, but Joel is the one I keep going to because all of these things that we talk about are stuff I talk about with Joel. He made a really good point one time. He said, you can be a teenage boy, age 14 or 15, and you get your first heartbreak, and it is complete and total trauma. It's nothing like the heartbreak that you experience when you're 40 or 50 or 60, but it's still trauma because it's the first one. It's the most impacting one.
And I want people, and people that are listening, I don't want them to be like, oh, well, I haven't been through nearly what she's been through. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you've been through it. Like you need to heal. It doesn't matter. There's no level like of one trauma is worse than the other. Trauma is trauma, period.
That's right.
And yeah, like that 14-year-old heartbreak, that heartache, you know, it's horrible.
And by the way, there's the proof that everybody goes through trauma because everybody goes through that at some point or other.
Yeah, everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
You
so
know,
it isn't the degree, like you say. I love that you brought that out. But it is not the degree of trauma that, I mean, certainly, if we're going to compare degrees, yours are off the chart. But you don't have to go through off the chart in order to experience the trauma and to grow from trauma. That's the other thing. People think that you have to go through serious trauma in order to grow from it, but you can grow from everything that happens.
Right. And it's absolutely the true. And I think that it's important that people, well, we're so busy. Everyone's so busy with their families and kids and going all over the place. But the thing is if you're not putting yourself first, nobody else in your life is going to be happy around you. You have to put yourself first. And, you know, I've learned so much on this journey too about generational trauma.
Oh, sure.
And how like this was a huge holy shit moment for me when I first learned about this, and how our parents will unintentionally pass their traumas on to us, and their parents passed it on to them. And even depending on what you believe in, you can even bring it over from past lives. You know, not to go out into left field. Some of your listeners don't believe in that. That's fine, but this is
Delaware today. We live out in left field. It's not an issue. Just trust me.
But there's evidence that that's true. And so it's crazy. I'm like, well, you know what? I am breaking the mold with me. That's it. I'm breaking the mold. It stops here. So
I love that. I love that tremendously. And well, it also fits my story as well, because like I said, I created this podcast for me. The unintended consequence. There were actually two unintended consequences. The first one was I was absolutely stunned to discover how much I like it. This is really, really fun. To the point where after the first couple hundred episodes, I want to keep going anyway. I'm screw the fact that we covered the topic. I want to keep going. So we're past
Right.
2,000 episodes, and I'm going to keep going on beyond that. But the second one was, well, first of all, I remember the first time I got an email from a listener. Up until that point, I'd forgotten that listeners could be out there. I mean, I'd been doing a show between me and whoever I was interviewing that day. That was it. We were the only two people involved. And then realizing I was helping other people. Again, not what my intention was, but it was a wonderful add-on gift that came along with it. The reason I mention that is, yeah, we can deal with stuff and we can do so from a perspective that says, I'm doing this for me, and still end up helping other people as a result. And we tend to skip that part we tend to kind of blow away from, but it really does happen.
It does. And selfishly, like, this show has helped me so much talking about it. You know, when I do, you know, interviews and stuff like this or keynotes, it's helped me immensely. I didn't realize how therapeutic it was going to be. And now, like, before I would have cringed trying to talk about what happened to me, like before the MDMA and all that. But now I'm like, we can talk about whatever. I don't get triggered. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. So that's like how far the growth has gone.
Which, by the way, is a testament to how much work you actually did, because when you get to the point where the stuff that used to trigger you no longer triggers you, that's your clue right there. You just got there. So congratulations on doing that. That's a fabulous thing.
Yeah, and not saying that I'm not still going to get triggered, because we're always evolving, but I'm ready for it now.
And you're able to not only handle it, but you've handled it so well that it just doesn't have the effect anymore. That is like massive growth right there.
I took my power back.
You did. You totally did. Well, you also, besides doing the podcast, you wrote a book that's currently in the process of being published. Is that right?
It is. So I actually just finished the last chapter last night.
Wow. Congratulations.
That's it was quite I was like, when I hit that save on that chapter, I was like, oh, I cannot believe 20 chapters, and it's going to editing next month.
That's the next one part, because the editing process is an entirely different beast, but you'll go through that.
Yeah, it's going into editing, and then I'm hoping to have it published and out by the holidays.
Wow, good for you.
So we'll see. But yeah, so it's a memoir, and it's about. Yeah, it is. I'm not 100% on it yet, though. So I'll.
Okay. All right. Then I'm not. We'll leave that out.
Yeah. When I get ready to, maybe we could connect again when I'm getting ready to, launch the book and stuff. But because I wanted to go through editing, because I want them to, help me to see if the title is correct. But it's a memoir of my whole journey. And believe it or not, there's a lot more that's happened besides these two things. I've had a series. It was like a domino effect of things that have happened over the years. And so it's basically my whole journey. But then the second half of the book is what I've learned, everything I've learned. And I share that at a very, very detailed, and I have the reader is working along with me through the chapters.
Okay.
So I want it to be kind of interactive in a way.
Okay.
So that'll be out. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's good. And then
never thought I was going to write a book, but this is what happens.
I didn't believe that. I've written two now, and edited a third, so you never know what's going to happen. I mean, it's just one of those things that comes along. Yeah. Oh, I guess I'm going to write a book. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
But you also create a course. So, what do you call it? I don't know if you call it a webinar or a workshop or.
Yeah, I created I started I have a do it at your own pace workshop. That I started. It's called the Rockstar 30. Everything's about music, with Trauma Rock Stars, of course. Because who doesn't love music, right? So it's called the Rockstar 30, but I created a free life audit quiz. And what you do is you go in, and it's super fast. You go, and it's on my website. I can, share you the link, but you go in and you take this free life audit quiz. It's literally 8 questions. And it maybe takes 3 minutes to take. It's super fast. But what it does is it tells you where you're landing on your own journey, where you're putting your energy deposits, how you're setting your boundaries. So 8 questions gives you the answer to this, and it's quite eye-opening for a lot of people. And then if they're interested, there's 4 different categories that this would fall in. So I've got this do at your own pace workshop that you can do depending on where you land after that, and it's 30 days, and I guide you through the whole thing. So you don't have to think, and it's quick. It's designed for very, very busy people, high achievers that don't have a lot of time. But if you can give yourself 10 minutes a day, this 30-day program is not overwhelming at all. And the first week is just recognizing. That's all it is. You don't have to do any work, but I guide you through everything. I guide you through your intentions. I guide you through your nervous system. I guide you through. So all you have to do is circle like yes, no, or, it's super. But by the time you get done with the 30 days, then people go back and look where they started versus how they are in the 30 days. It's incredible. It's really given people a lot of answers. They found out a lot about themselves. And then I'm almost finished with the Rockstar 90, which is a 90-day, it's a very intense, but it's still fast designed for high achievers, for very busy people. This is for people that are sick of the bullshit, that are sick of going to therapists for years, and they're talking in circles, and they just want to get to the root of it, and get through it. It's not like a get rich quick type thing, or a quick fix. It's just people that are sick of spending the time and they're not getting anywhere, and they end up just as confused at the end, where you go through this 90-day, and by the end of the 90 days you should have the tools you need. And that's really I guide you through it. And I also have an option if people want to do a weekly one-on-one with me to help them through that 90 days. They have the option of doing that. So that should be out next month. That's going to be my anniversary present to everyone.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, why don't we tell people where to find all this, first of all?
Super easy, Walt. Everything's Trauma Rockstars. So all socials, the website, everything's Trauma Rockstars. I'm on all platforms. So anywhere you listen to your podcasts, on all of them. Videos are always on YouTube. And then Apple now is doing videos, which is awesome. And then, you can reach out to me directly through social media. A lot of people do, or you can email me directly at podcast@traumarockstars.com.
Very good. I like that. And you actually answered my question that comes up next before I even asked it. So thank you. Because my next question was, do you like to have people reach out to you? Apparently the answer is yes.
Yes, and I will be the one answering you. It won't be AI. It won't be like, I have Anna. She's my social media manager. She doesn't answer any of these. I answer them personally because it's like invaluable to me to get the feedback. And I also want people to tell me, like, if you don't think something worked, I want the feedback, like, because I want to bring the best possible show I can. And I can't improve if I don't know areas that need to be improved on either. So I like both sides of the coin. That's
fantastic. I love that. Well, we have a couple of traditions we normally do. You've already done one of them. The second one would normally be where Anne Marie jumps in and says how she ties everything together, but she can't do that. She's not here today. So I'll just do a quick tie together, and then I'll tie it into the last thing I like to do. The tie together that I want to bring in is thank you for reminding us and showing us how it is that no matter what kind of traumas we go through, there's always a way through and there's a way out. We don't have to stay stuck in that place. I think your story tells a lot of different things, but it tells that one point more than anything else. And it's probably the most important point. So thank you for sharing that. There's also one other thing that I want to share too, which is we were talking earlier about how we're in the 21st century. We can do all these terrific things we couldn't do back in the 1980s and the 1990s, including doing this podcast and you doing your podcast and so forth. I mean, you're in Florida, I'm in Connecticut. We're in each other's living room. It's pretty cool.
I know.
Right? It's a fabulous thing. And we were talking about how we can have people, we're connecting with people from all around the world and we're helping people often we don't even know about. And that's where I noticed something. I said, we're helping people that we don't even know about, and we don't know how we're helping them. We're not getting credit for it. Well, I'm a podcast host. I can do something about that. So Tracy, on behalf of those people you've never met, never seen, and never will meet, and never will see, who you've been helping in ways you didn't know about because you've been sharing your story, sharing your message, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you are making a difference in this world.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. That's all I care about, is if I can give anybody some hope.
And you're doing it. So keep going, girl. You're doing great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you so much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody. Well, I almost made it.